On this video today, I'm going to talk to you about why you can't sell, why you find it hard to get people to buy things at low prices while other people seem to be selling the world for tens of thousands of dollars. So let me ask you a question. Would you like to have more people desire to buy more things from you with less effort from you? Yes or yes? Okay, cool. The first principle I'm going to give you is this. In fact, I'm going to do it as a question. What does a tree have to do to bear apples? Grow, but it has to be an apple tree. And now you say, I thought you were going to talk to me about how to get people to line up around the building and buy credit, cards in hand. I am. Everything reproduces after its own kind. I live in Florida. I've never seen an orange growing on an apple tree, and I've never seen an apple growing on an orange tree because everything reproduces after its own kind. You want to have an army, a multitude, a crowd of rabid, hungry buyers. Hungry, happy buyers become a hungry, happy buyer. See, the cultural hypnotic societal mechanism has programmed you to love money more than time and to love money more than people. And that's one of the reasons you can't sell. See, you've got so much internal resistance to buying. By the way, one of the reasons, if you hate to sell, and maybe this is not true for you, but it's true for a lot of people. One of the reasons you hate to sell is because you hate to buy. And you don't really hate to buy, you just hate salespeople. You go into a shoe store, they don't sell cars in there. The shoe salesperson comes up to you and says, "Can I help you find something?" And you unzip your face and a monster jumps out and says, "No, I'm just looking." And you literally have a visceral reaction to someone who is attempting to help you buy the thing you came in the store for. And so because you have this visceral reaction to salespeople and you don't like it when people attempt to sell you something, you don't want people to feel about you like you feel about them. So you don't like to sell. So therefore, since you don't like to sell, you can't attract happy buyers. See, if you could get to the place in your life where you love the people and use the money instead of loving the money and using the people, then when people serve you, you would be happy to pay them. You know what drives me bananas? Folk going into a restaurant, running the server ragged like an indentured servant, and then not leaving a tip or leaving $1, or churchianity folks leaving a track, a gospel track, and no money. I'm just keeping it real. What would happen? What would happen what would happen in your life if you became a happy tipper of people who serve you? Yeah, I'll tell you what would happen. You'd realize that money is not your source. Come on. If I go to a restaurant and I'm buying and I go out to eat, worst case scenario, if they do a good job, worst case scenario, they're going to get 20%. Best case scenario, if I'm paying, they might get 10 or 20 or $30 tip per person if they do a great job. Why? Because I want to say thank you. And they will remember a great tip for the rest of the day, maybe the rest of the week. I won't remember it after I leave the restaurant. I took some clients to lunch one time in St. Pete. We had an event in St. Pete, and there was this girl who was getting ready to get off work, but she stayed to service. And I think we had 22 people. I had 22 clients, and we kind of ran a ragged because I serve high-end clients, and they know exactly what they want. And when this girl got done, she served us joyfully the whole time. And I gave her a $500 tip. And she came in tears and told us the story about how she had just gotten out of the hospital and she didn't know what she was going to do because she had these hospital bills because she had tried to commit suicide. And $500 was more than just money to her. You know what it was? It showed her that somebody sees her. It showed her that somebody cares. I'm going to tell you something. You know the law of gravity, right? What goes up must come down. There's a law called the law of the farm. Here's how it goes. You reap what you sow, yes, but you don't reap when you sow. You usually reap later than you sow, but you don't reap the same quantity that you sow. You usually reap more than you sow. What if you woke up one morning and you realize that every word that comes out of your mouth is a seed that you are sowing into the garden of your future. And every thought that you think is a seed that you're sowing into the garden of your future. And every deed that you do is a seed that you're sowing into the garden of your future. And every dollar that you spend is a seed that you're sowing into the garden of your future. And what if I'm not talking about blowing money? I'm not talking about being frivolous. I'm just talking about being generous. Yes, because here's what it says. Given, it shall be given to you. Pressed down, shaken together, running over, watch this, shall men give into your bosom. What am I saying? I'm saying if you want to have an army of happy, hungry customers, customers, you need to be a happy, hungry customer. That's right. For whatever it is you buy, because you're going to sell like you buy. And see, when somebody serves me, I'm happy to pay them. That's right. I do not believe even a little bit at the price. You know why? Because I don't want people barking at the price when I tell them how much I charge. And I charge more than most people. And so when somebody serves me, I'm like, oh, well, here's your money. And I don't want to hold anybody's money in my pocket 16 seconds longer than I'm supposed to, because the scripture tells me not to do that. Okay. So one of the reasons you can't sell, one of the reasons you can't sell because you're not a happy buyer. And so you don't have an army of people. You don't have an army of people lined up out the door around the building, credit cards in hand, cash in hand, clamoring to pay you like Apple does when they come out with a new iPhone, even though the newest iPhones are way worse than the older ones. Okay. I'm not even going to talk about how Apple deteriorated. But anyway, that's another conversation for a different day. But the other reason you can't sell is because you don't understand the relationship of time and money, because the cultural, hypnotic, societal mechanism programmed you to believe the lie that, watch this now, they programmed you to believe the lie that time is money. You've probably said it. I know you've heard other people say it. I used to say it. Time's money. Time is money. Time is money. That's dumb as a box of rocks. Time, money. I'll prove it to you. If you lose or spend all of your money, can you get more money? What if you lose all of your time? Do you get more time? It's a wrap. If you had to choose today to lose the rest of the time you have left or all the money you have, which one would you choose? The money, right? So we know, in fact, if I said to you, I'll give you $1 million today, who wants the
money? Raise your hand if you want the money. Raise your hand.
Okay. What's wrong with the rest of y'all? Okay. But there's a caveat. There's a caveat. You have to end your life today. Now, who wants the money? Nobody wants the money. Why? Because you already subconsciously realize that time is more valuable than money, but you never consciously thought about it. But what if I said to you, what if you were sick and you were going to die, but there was a remedy and the price of that remedy and it wasn't covered by insurance? The price of the remedy was all the money that you have. How many of you would spend all the money that you have to buy that remedy so you didn't die today, right? Why? Because you already realize that time is more valuable than money, but you don't think of it that way. So you got to stop saying that time is money, because if you keep saying that time is money, here's what you're going to do. You're going to sell a whole bunch of your time for a little bit of somebody else's money, and you're going to waste a lot of time to save a little bit of money. But when you realize that time is more valuable than money, then you're going to use as much money as necessary to buy back the rest of your life. See, time, because of compound interest, time makes money more valuable. But because of compacted experiences, money makes time more valuable. What does that mean? That means if you take one vacation a year and you're going to live for 40 more years, you get to take 40 more vacations. But what if, instead of taking one vacation a year, what if you started taking one vacation a quarter and started taking 4 vacations a year just because you could? Just because you had enough money, you start taking 4 vacations with your family a year. Now you get to take 40 years worth of vacations in 10 years, and 160 years of vacations in 40 years. In other words, the quality of your life is not measured by the number of years of experience you have doing a thing, but by the number of experiences you put in those years. And when you have more money, it gives you the ability to put more experiences in your years. This is why poor people and middle-class people elapse. I didn't spell that right. Elapse time frames. You know why? Because they don't realize that time is more valuable than money. It's why poor people and middle-class people waste time. Like I'm confused that when people have time to sit down and watch a 4-hour sporting competition, I'm like, where does this time come? Like, I'm not even working 8 hours a day and I don't have time to do that. Yes, I don't have time to read. Like, I don't have time to read all the books I want to read. I don't have time to spend with all the people I want to spend time. Like, what? They elapse time frames. I think there's an E on the end of elapse. I just noticed that. Okay, so they elapse time frames. But watch this. Rich people, here's what we do. We collapse time frames. I don't know if I spelled that right or not, but it's okay if I didn't, because we have this thing on our blackboard called a spelling box. And if I misspell a word down here, take any letter between A and Z, put it where it goes. Together, we can spell that word right. Okay, so we collapse time frames. Okay, we collapse time frames. What does that mean? We collapse time frames. We get more done in less time because we realize that real wealth is measured more in time than it is is in money. Wealth is measured more in time than it is in money. What does that mean? Okay, what it means is if you make, let's call it $1 million, because that's what people think of as a lot of money, right? So if you make $1 million, are you rich? Depends. That's the answer. It depends. What does it depend on? It depends on how long it took you to make it. See, if you make $50,000 a year, and you work for 20 years, you made $1 million. But are you rich? No. Why? It took you too long. But what if you make that same $1 million in a year? Are you rich now? Oh yeah, you're rich now. You ain't Bill Gates rich, but you rich. In fact, if you make $1 million in a year, you're 20 times richer than a person who makes $1 million in 20 years. Y'all both made the same amount of money. One of you just made it faster. If you make $1 million a month, now you're, whatever that is, 240 times richer than the person who makes $1 million in 20 years. Not because you made more money, just because you made it faster. See, I submit to you that all of you already make enough money to be rich. You just make it too slowly. Think about how much money you make per year. Somebody, you don't have to shout out how much you make. You can shout how much you used to make if you wanted to. Somebody shout out an amount of money that people make. $75,000 a year. So you're making $75,000 a year. Here's how you get rich. You ready? $75,000 a year. Take this yearly amount. Okay, take that yearly amount and okay, that works. Make it monthly. Now you're rich. Same amount of money, just making it faster. Now here's what I know. We talked in our Q&A session about energy and intention. Most people have never set an intention ever in their life to turn their annual income into their monthly income ever. The thought has never even entered their mind that that would be possible for them. Now maybe there's something wrong with me. Y'all know my nickname is Big Head, right? So because my head was this size when I was in the first grade and I was very top heavy, and I used to fall down forward and hit my head on the sidewalk. That's why I have these scars on my forehead. That's literally what they're from. I'm not making that up. That really happened. Okay, well, anyway, y'all are looking at me all shockified. Okay, it is what it is. Okay, so maybe that's why I'm the way I am. I juggled some stuff loose and it never got back tight, right? But when I'm thinking about earning revenue, I'm like, we have really good revenue. And like I said to somebody this morning, and I'm gonna get to this here in a hot second. I said to somebody this morning or yesterday, I've been an entrepreneur for 40 years, since I was 25. We've generated between 60 and $70 million since I've been an entrepreneur, which is decent. That's not terrible. But now I've literally figured out the plan. Well, we can do more than that in the next 6 months. And I know what you're thinking. Well, why would you care? Why would you want to do that? Because I can. So how do you speed up your income? Here's how you speed up your income. Like, you get good at selling. Mine, what is the number one skill if I want to multiply my income that I need to develop? The number one skill that you need to develop is you need to learn how to sell, and you need to get good at it. And you need to have as many sales conversations as necessary to master the skill of selling. And by the way, you talk about collapsing time frames. Here's one reason why people never learn to sell. Is because when it comes to sales, they want people to say yes, and they elapse time frames. Because every time they get a no, their feelings get hurt. You know why their feelings get hurt? Because they want a yes. So here's why you can't sell. Because when you're selling, you want people to say yes. When I'm selling, I don't care what they say. Like, no. Not like at all. I am so divorced from my need for somebody's stance for the person I'm talking to say yes. Would you like to know why? Because there's a law that tells me if I talk to enough people in a short enough period of time, somebody somewhere gonna buy something from me. So I want you to really think about this now. What's that law called? It's called the law of averages. If I talk to 10 people, I'm gonna sell a certain number. If I talk to 100 people, I'm gonna sell a certain number. So if you're in that group of 100 people, I don't care if you wanted the yeses or wanted the nos. Let's say I can sell 18 out of a 100 on whatever I'm selling. I don't care if you wanted 82 or wanted 18. I just know I got to get to a 100. So now I'm like, tell me yes or tell me no, but tell me now, I got to go. SSWN. What's that mean? Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting next. You want to be good at sales? Say less to more people. Say less to more people. You want to be bad at sales? Say more to less people. What does that look like? You attempting to turn a no into a yes. And the law of averages already told you they are no. So if like one-on-one sales, one-on-many sales, I don't have time to care who says yes or who says no. Why? Because for me, this is a race for the aces. I'm not looking for yeses. I'm just looking for decisions. And I'm not looking for slow decisions. Because guess what? A fast no is 100 times better than a forever maybe. Let that one grow on you. So if you want to be wealthy, and you want to get good at sales, collapse the time frames between presentations and say less to more people. You want to get good at sales? Stop walking around quoting ridiculous truisms that aren't true, like people love to buy, but they hate to be sold. The idiot that came up with that was bad at sales. Why do I say the idiot that came up with that? Because here's the reality. People love to buy and they love to be sold. They just hate to be convinced. And one of the reasons you can't sell is because you attempt to convince people thinking that that's selling. When you get good at sales and somebody buys something from you, they will think it was their idea. Okay, everybody take out your phone. How many of y'all have an iPhone? Who has an iPhone? Okay, Android or iPhone? Okay, you had an Android, you got an iPhone. Guess what? You weren't born wanting that. So why did you buy one? Oh, I just wanted one. Yeah, you know why you wanted one? Because they sold you on wanting one. We love to buy and we love to be sold. We love to be sold, but we hate to be convinced. And here's the difference. Selling is persuasion. It's not convincing. Selling is let me tell you what convincing is first. Convincing is when I attempt to get you to do something I desire you to do for my reasons. That's convincing. Selling is when I help you make a decision you already desire to make for your own reasons. So when I'm selling, I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about you because I already know I can't lose. Why? I'm following a law, and it's a winner's law. It's called the law of averages. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to multiply the law of averages times another law. You know what it's called? The law of large numbers. So if I know I can sell 18 out of a 100, I'm not going to talk to 100 and sell 18. I'm going to talk to 200 and sell 36. That's called the law of large numbers multiplied times the law of averages. And see, most people don't get that. And if you do that, you can get really, really rich really, really fast. And you can have it sound so crazy. Like, I get it. Sounds crazy. So I sound like a crazy person. May I even look like a crazy person? You can have $100,000 months or $100,000 weeks or $100,000 days or $100,000 hours. You can have $1 million months, $1 million years, $1 million weeks, $1 million days, $1 million hours. But you have to hyper obsess over solving somebody else's problem more than they do so that you find the solution that they're willing to pay you for. And if you will do that, you'll be able to sell for the rest of your life. I'm really good at sales. You know why. And I don't ever have to talk anybody into anything. Ryan, you know what people ask me? They say, but how do you overcome objections? Easy. I don't get them. I don't get objection. Objection. Child, please. You say, what do you mean you don't get objections? Here's what I mean. I believe that an objection is a question that did not get answered in the presentation and it got infected and festered into an objection. So what I do is I think about the person I'm selling to long enough and hard enough to figure out what their resistance will be so that I can remove that resistance before we ever get to the how much the offer is. And see, you wait to the end and you do all the talking and then you want them to participate when it's time to close. This ain't that, baby. So that's how you close. This is how you get good at selling. Start collapsing the time frames. Get good at obsessing over solving their problem, not your commission problem, their transformation problem, and your commission will take care of itself. If you will do these things, it'll change your life for the rest of your life. One of the reasons you have a hard time selling is because you desire people to buy. Stop it. If you can get to the place where you really don't care, I mean, really, you care about them, but you don't care if they say yes or say no because you already know somebody's going to say yes. I've been practicing this law for 40 years. I know it works. There. It's no doubt in my man. I don't have to worry about, I have no idea where my customers are coming from this month. I know they coming though. They on their way. So I've practiced this law for 40 years. It has never proven to be wrong because the more I make you feel like I need you, the less you believe you need me. That's called commission breath. The more I make you feel like I don't need you, the more you believe you need me. So the best way for me to make you feel like I don't need you is for me to feel like I don't need you because I'm aware of the law. Now, figure it out and go sell. Stay blessed by the best. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.